We are in the midst of our AVNation Reader's Choice Awards. The nomination process is now, so go to the website, avnation.tv, and nominate, and the voting for that starts the first week of January as well.
And spread managed democracy throughout the galaxy.
Converging all the networks, sustainability in AV, and AV in the cloud, all that and more, next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 695, recorded Friday, December 13th, 2024. Stay in your lane. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of the biggest AV news and information we have gathered. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to talk about the news we have gathered, first and foremost, Kelly Teal from the Great Southwest. She is a kick-butt AV consultant. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for having me, as always.
Also in the greater, Southwest area is Mike Gleason. I've known Mike for a long time. He is with Utelligy now. Welcome, sir.
Great to see you all.
And the one of the best AV people I know, I've known him for a long time. His name is Ron Callis. He is from One Firefly. Welcome, brother.
Hey, Mr. Tim. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Really quickly, we're getting towards the end of the year. This is not our last show. Next week will be our last show. Then we'll do some best ofs. And then everything ISC. And I do mean everything ISC. We've actually already done a couple of ISC programs. Our fantastic producer and editor Mitchell is working his fingers to the bone, editing those out. Those start the first week of January. And also we are in the midst of our AVNation Reader's Choice Awards. The nomination process is now, so go to the website, avnation.tv, and nominate, and the voting for that starts the first week of January as well. First story for us comes to us by way, quite frankly, of our website, but a number of other places posted this as well. The very first AV Cloud Summit happened a couple weeks ago. The industry leaders gathered at the inaugural AV Cloud Summit, hosted by cloud platform developer Xyte. They were looking to address the growing demands for unified cloud solutions in the AV industry. The summit featured prominent figures, including Legrand, as well as EI's global lead for in-office meeting experience, Ron Scliver. They all emphasize the need for streamlined, centralized management of AV systems. Now, the panel highlighted how fragmented cloud management systems are, and those are creating challenges for IT managers. They're looking, quite frankly, to standardize. In other words, we've heard this story before. Can't we all kind of get along? Can we have one standard? Can we get rid of quite frankly, some of the silos that have evolved over the years? The event showcased several companies' cloud implementations, including Atlas IED's Atmosphere Cloud and Symmetrix's licensing solution. Also they tried to draw a parallel to Tesla's impact, quite frankly, on the automotive industry through software-defined experiences and how possibly the AV industry could emulate that. Kelly, I want to start with you because you are the one who talks to clients directly, to IT managers and AV directors most. What is the future of the AV cloud, quote unquote, when it comes to the IT managers and the decision makers here?
So I think the AV cloud market, for lack of a better term, I think it's poised for significant growth as a digital transformation because it's accelerating across industries like education, corporate environment, and healthcare, and even in my daily work life. So like Xyte, I think that's how you say it, device cloud, offering something like a unified, scalable, and interoperable service, it's very likely to become integral to that AV landscape because it enables this kind of greater efficiency and innovation and user experience. So, for instance, you have this industry-wide standardization and interoperability. So something like Xyte or other interoperability across, diverse AV devices breaks that silos of proprietary systems. So this trend will align with the industry needs for simplified integration and cross-platform compatibility. And as you get towards standards like AV over IP, and the SMPTE, ST2110 become more widely adopted, cloud platforms that can seamlessly connect and manage these systems will thrive. And you've also got, in that same sentence, you've got this expansion of AV as a service. So subscription models, I think from my personal opinion, that in the AV industry particularly is moving towards subscription-based models. Cloud platforms are central to enabling recurring revenue streams for manufacturers and integrators. And that remote management aspect, so the AV as a service that I had mentioned, requires robust remote monitoring and management capabilities, which platforms like Xyte can provide by connecting hardware to the cloud for real-time control and analytics. And then you've also kind of, I could go into the rabbit hole about enhanced remote support and diagnostics and integration with IoT and smart spaces, the IoT ecosystem. So the convergence of, and we're going to talk about this hopefully on this call, but AV and IoT is accelerating. So cloud platforms that integrate AV systems with IoT devices like sensors, lighting, HVAC, and I used to work in high-end residential. I don't need more, but I know those are becoming essential for building smart spaces. And then there's that data-driven decision where analytics gathered from cloud-connected AV devices can inform better decision-making for optimizing system usage and energy efficiency. And I think when you talk to clients like I have in the past, I think when they hear all of these benefits, it becomes a bigger need or want. And I think as far as where this is going, I think eventually this is going to become a very normal circumstance. And I think, I think for the future of AV cloud solutions, I think it appears to be promising due to the increasing demand for that connectivity and that scalability and centralized management in the industry.
Very cool. Really quickly, Xyte is how you say the name of that company. Xyte, Xyte.
Xyte, right?
It's not spelled like Xyte, but that's how you.
I left the X out.
They can send me an email and tell me I'm wrong. Mike, Utiligy is also moving to the cloud. So talk for a second about how you guys, or maybe just you personally, you see this migration and where the future of the AV cloud goes.
Yeah, so a lot of my background of 20 years have been spent in managed services, cloud services, things of that nature. So it's something that's been coming for a long time. At Utiligy, we've been in the cloud for a very long time. And what we see is there's a few problems. We see that there's so many vendor-specific platforms, vendor-specific products. We hear it all the time. I was on 2 customer calls today. I heard it is, we have portal fatigue. If something happens in a room and it's a Teams room with a Logi camera, but there's also Crestron control, and I've got a C-suite guy breathing down my neck, that's the 3rd time that room has gone down, and I'm bouncing between Sync and Pro Portal and XIO. And they just want to figure out exactly what is going on within the room. And at Utiligy, especially, we're a vendor agnostic platform. We can be able to tell you exactly what the root cause of the problem is, regardless of the manufacturer. Get rid of portal fatigue. And I think, especially the IT side, has had these platforms for a long time. It's great to see that it's coming to the AV world. And I think we spend so much time talking about platforms and products that are vendor specific, and we need to move the discussion to focus more on service management workflows and outcomes. And we're solving problems every day for our clients with our self-healing capabilities and our ability to test rooms overnight. And ultimately, at the end of the day, these poor engineers that got to support these rooms, they're just looking for a single pane of glass. They're looking to show everybody that, hey, if we're doing a return to the office initiative, I should be able to come in if something went down in the middle of the night. It should self-heal itself, or I should know specifically where it is, so I don't have to run around with our clipboard brigade every single morning checking every single room. So I think Kelly was right. I mean, the progression to AV cloud and vendor agnostic solutions is accelerating, and we're getting more and more interest every day that people are like, please just give me a vendor agnostic platform.
Ron, take it for a second here, and Ron's background is in engineering. He does marketing now, but take for a second and break this idea down of AV cloud and help an IT manager deliver that message to their boss, right? To the CIO, to the CTO. How would you describe it? How would you help them say, this is what it is and this is why you need it?
I think it's pretty straightforward. If you look at the operational overhead for these IT and AV managers and what it takes just with the mental, frankly, time and capacity to be managing all of these various portals, if this can be simplified through a better user interface, which ultimately aids their ability to do their job, their accountabilities more effectively, I think it's you go to a C-suite and you say, I'm going to save you time, money, and energy, and I'm going to help our customers, our constituents, the users of these spaces have a better experience. And I need X budget to do that. And I think I can save the company Y amount of dollars in that process and improve the happiness of the users of those spaces, because I should be able to guarantee a better uptime and or a quicker resolution of issues. If you can take all the techno speak out of it and just simplify it for the decision makers or the people with the purse strings, it really sounds like, the industry is maturing and coming of age, and now the technology is here with solutions like Utelogy and Xyte and others that are ultimately simplifying this for everybody. Everybody wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Next story, Crestron has achieved SAVE certification. They have been, actually, they're the first AV company to achieve that certification. SAVE, really quickly, stands for, you lost my place here. SAVE stands for Sustainability in AV. Quite frankly, it's a certification process that brought together more than 30 Crestron employees and SAVE representatives. They did a whole big couple of days, included climate change, waste management, e-waste management specifically, and sustainability processes. They worked through workshops focused on facility management, social sustainability, and sustainable design. Christine DeBono, SAVE's founder and president, she praised Crestron's initiative, highlighting the company's quote-unquote pioneering role in industry sustainability leadership, while the cross-departmental collaboration during the certification process has already sparked innovative approaches to product design and environmental responsibility. Mike, we'll start with you on this. What parts of sustainability do we think that IT and AV managers care about?
I think they care about energy savings.
Okay.
Plain and simple. I mean, we've got a lot of equipment that we're managing and monitoring today that if you've got the right platform, you can make one of the key features the ability to turn it off when it's not in use. You have the ability to actually save clients hard dollars, so they're not sitting around and they have this equipment running all day long. I know specifically at Utelogy, it's one of the biggest components we talk about for every project every single day. We sit down at the beginning of a process and we actually, part of our ROI calculator is walking through, hey, are your devices on all day long? Do you have screens on the network? Are you looking at energy savings? What are your sustainability goals for your organization? And we leverage our tool to help them with energy management. And it's coming up more and more every single day. So I think a lot of us as AV professionals, when we start the discovery process for a client's new project, we have to bring up sustainability. We have to bring up energy management. We've got to understand where the client stands today and help them get to their ultimate goal.
Ron, same kind of question is as you're working with your clients, what are they telling you that their customers really care about when it comes to sustainability?
Well, I think if you look at Crestron's position as a leader in the space, and this is really them demonstrating leadership and authority around sustainability, some of their partners and some of their clients will care a great deal about this. And so this now, I'm putting my marketing hat on. I wear it most of the time these days. I'm thinking like that's some great content and a great message to put out to the marketplace, because it's frankly going to mean a lot to a lot of people out there in the wild. And to achieve this, I don't want to diminish the amount of effort it took, but it looked like it was a sizable number of internal stakeholders at Crestron that attended this training. At least from the article, it sounds like it was maybe a 1 or 2 day seminar and effort. And as a result, they now have this badge that they can put out there and demonstrate to the entire AV community that they care about this and they're going to lead from the front. And I would imagine they'll win business as a result.
Kelly, from your perspective and talking with clients and helping them design systems, what is it that they care about when it comes to a sustainable AV system?
So I'm going to answer this from their perspective as well as an AV and IT manager's perspective, because I work with a lot of them as well. And their concerns are often revolving around reducing energy consumption, minimizing e-waste, and designing systems that align with broader sustainability goals. So a lot of the AV IT managers I've worked with care about sustainability because it aligns with reducing costs and also improving efficiency. And specifically meeting corporate environmental goals when that is a subject. And by focusing on that energy efficiency and e-waste reduction, lifecycle management, and integration with smart systems, they play a crucial role in creating a more sustainable workplace. The AVIT equipment has a shorter life cycle due to rapid technological advancements, so that leads to increased electronic waste. And the key considerations are partnering with certified e-waste recycling programs, choosing manufacturers that support circular economy practices, so take back or refurbishment programs, prioritizing modular upgradable systems to extend device lifespans, carbon footprint reduction. Organizations, typically aim to achieve net zero or carbon neutral targets, and AVIT systems contribute to emissions. So, and again, cloud-based solutions to reduce the need for physical infrastructure, consolidating AV and IT networks to minimize duplicate hardware, selecting vendors and partners with strong environmental and governance policies, ESG policies. So these are the things that a lot of the AVIT managers and clients alike always come to us about, in terms of sustainability. So I would say the top things that are really focused on is that energy efficiency, e-waste management, carbon footprint reduction, life cycle and longevity, and smart building integration. Increasingly, AVIT managers collaborate with facilities management to create an energy efficient environment with integration into building management systems to optimize energy use, again, in lighting, AV systems, HVAC. And so I think, a lot of these are kind of repetitive, and I think a lot of clients and AVIT managers are looking, for these end goals, the same end goals that we, all want for the sustainability. And they just want to create a more sustainable workplace overall. And I think they're focusing on that sustainability as organizations prioritize that environment and social responsibility.
All right, our final story comes to us from our friends over at Innovate. They wrote about the growing trend towards converged networks where AV and IT applications share the same server infrastructure, marking a departure, quite frankly, from traditional separated or isolated systems. Publication notes that approximately 25% of current AV installations now involve IP-based solutions, with numbers continuing to rise, particularly in corporate, education, and environmental sectors. Transition offers substantial benefits such as cost reduction, simplified operations, and enhanced scalability. Experts acknowledge significant challenges, including security concerns, bandwidth requirements, and organizational resistance from IT departments. That's putting it mildly. The emergence of new standards like IPMX is helping bridge the technical gap between AV and IT systems through industry though industry consultants note that adoption remains slower in multi-tenant buildings where complex ownership structures create additional hurdles for network integration. Here's the thing I'm going to say about this before we get our experts in here. I have learned an awful lot in the last 12 months about the separation here. The higher education space specifically, not even talking about K-12, I can't say education, but higher ed specifically, they have just taken to converged networks like nobody's business, right? It is part of the fabric of their network. Corporate, for whatever reason, still sees it like it is the biggest evil in the world. And part of me wants to suggest that the IT folks that work in higher ed went to a different school than the IT folks in corporate. I don't think that's the case, but that is what it feels like, right? Like and there are some caveats here, like, oh, we work in financial, so we can't have. Okay, fine, sure, groovy, awesome. But if you work at, I don't know, McDonald's, who cares that it's a conversion network, right there? So that's Tim's soapbox on converge versus separated. Just put it all on one network, you'll be fine. Callis, we'll start with you. What is the value of converged networks versus isolated networks?
Well, I can appreciate facilities managers, the demand for streamlined operations, the idea of flexibility and scalability when it comes to a network and being able to run all the different aspects of IT and AV down that network. And or if the role or function of a space changes over time without having to completely change out infrastructure, the ability to simply have your existing facilities or IT people make that swap. I see all the value in the world and it makes a lot of sense. And I completely agree with you. There's probably a tremendous amount of corporate where there isn't as sensitive information running through those networks, and it would ultimately likely reduce expense and streamline the efficiencies of execution of those networks. I can appreciate the varying bandwidth demands of particularly AV. If you're trying to run a lot of, say, video down a line, and the configuration or again, the two experts here could speak more about the specific design criteria that would need to be in place to have a network design accommodate that capability. But I could see how there would be questions about that, and for security, or the concept of security, particularly if I'm in a financial business and I have sensitive client or protected data. But yeah, it's an interesting. I think it's just a matter of time before and more networks go this way.
All right, Kelly, you're the one on this call that actually talks directly to clients and designs these systems. So talk for a second to a client and just run us down the pros and cons of each, right? What's the pros and cons of converged versus isolated and vice versa?
That's a very good question, actually. And I'm kind of glad this topic's being brought up. So I think the decision between standalone AV networks and convergent AV IT networks is going to depend on specific operational needs. So convergent networks are increasingly favored due to their ability to unify infrastructure and streamline that management and reduce costs, because that's always a point of contention. But while standalone AV networks are still valuable in scenarios requiring that extreme reliability and isolation, convergent AV and IT networks do offer significant advantages in the trend towards convergence, which is likely continuing to dominate. I will say that, and that's all driven by technologies like AV over IP and the rise of smart connected ecosystems, right? So the increasing adoption of convergent networks is driven by those technological advancements and changing business priorities. Such as the growth of AV over IP, integration with IoT and smart spaces, demand for remote and cloud management. It's kind of like a full circle, right? I think the value of standalone AV networks, though, still exist. Standalone AV networks are still dedicated systems designed solely for AV traffic. They do offer advantages like enhanced performance for specific use cases, but they do come with limitations. And I've always said this. So your advantages like performance optimization and isolation for security and simplified troubleshooting is great, but you do have a costly infrastructure, and you do have that limited scalability and redundant efforts. You have a duplication of networks of AV and IT, which can lead to inefficiencies in management. Biggest complaint I hear. There is also a value of convergent AV/IT networks. So the converged networks integrate AV and IT onto a shared infrastructure, leveraging advancements like AV over IP. And that trend is growing as organizations prioritize that efficiency, scalability, cost effectiveness. So the advantages, again, are those cost efficiency, scalability. But there are challenges. Traffic management. AV traffic can be bandwidth intensive. Quality of service configurations are essential to avoid IT disruptions. Cybersecurity risk, we've talked about this. Connecting AV devices to IT networks increases exposure to cyber threats, requiring robust security measures. Specialized expertise, we all know that's a big point, is IT teams must learn AV protocols. They need to know what Dante is. They need to know what NDI is. They need to know what SDVOE is. And AV teams must understand network principles, which is another challenge. I think in corporate environments, converged networks are, where they support hybrid work setups by unifying AV for conferencing with IT systems like email and collaboration tools. But I know education, like modern classrooms and campuses, are integrating AV with IT systems on a shared network for that centralized management aspect, as well as healthcare. I'm seeing it a lot in healthcare as well, to support telemedicine, digital signage, and patient care monitoring. But I think there's pros and cons to both. I think as organizations seek that more unified and flexible solution, I think that's going to change business priorities. And I think that you're going to start seeing more converged networks, whether people like it or dislike it. I think it's just what the trend is right now.
Mike, same kind of question is how do you talk to clients about, the value of converged networks and AV?
It's funny, as you started out and you talked about your soapbox, you were spot on. let's think about this. The term converged networks has literally been around for 20 some years. I heard it back in the days when I was selling PBXs and IP telephony, and the VI and the Nortel people were on this side, and the ShoreTel and the Cisco people were on this side, and you can't put voice and data on the same network. It's been around forever. But to your original point, Tim, the consumer doesn't care. It's just the network. Whether it's converged or not, they don't care. And so I think the problem that we still use the term converged networks, or we still talk about, well, it can't be here, it can't be there, has more to do with IT people's fiefdom. Well, I'm the server guy. You can't put this on my network, things of that nature. And it's actually impeding the process. There's way more, as Kelly talked about, there's way more advantages that you're going to see to get to a converged network. So my recommendation is, first let's talk about InfoSec. Let's get InfoSec involved from the beginning and spend time with them to understand if there is a security concern or an isolation concern. Why is that? And let's talk about what's possible instead of everybody from their fiefdom just saying, well, you're not going to go on my network, you're not going to touch my servers, those types of things. So I see it only going to hopefully a better place, but we've got to get people from all different departments to be talking in the same speak to deliver the outcome, because at the end of the day, the consumer just looks at it as the network. So hopefully we can get there, but there has to be a lot better collaboration.
Tim, I have a question that these experts, or maybe you could answer. I'm curious, does the management of that converged network, does that raise the specifications or knowledge or requirements of that human or that team and make that team harder to ultimately have all of the necessary knowledge to successfully manage that? I'm just wondering if that's a factor in this equation.
I think 100%, Ron. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It goes back to our original discussion about AV cloud. The reason that there's all these, oh my gosh, we've got to put it into the cloud, because there was these different departments that were like, well, if it's going to leave the network, then you need to handle it. If it's going to leave the servers, then you need to handle it. If it's going to be in the cloud, we got to get InfoSec. So it has to do exactly what you're talking about, Ron. It's a matter of people not coming together and staying in their individualized zones and being like, well, that's not the way that's been done in the past. And now you're going to pull me into some department that I'm not used to that technology.
It's been a 10-year battle with that. I've seen it several times. It's still a battle to this day. I thought back in 2018, I thought we'd be past this. But yeah, it's a struggle. There's still good bits going on.
A lot of people pointing fingers.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Area or not my expertise.
Yeah. And it's also a little bit of, you mentioned pointing fingers. It's also a little bit of a support as well. It's like, at what point does, the video signal turn into an IT problem, right? Because there's an onboard, right? There's an encoder somewhere. And well, if once it's encoded into ones and zeros, whose problem is it? Because if something goes sideways, the IT folks are going to point over to that encoder and goes, well, the encoder is obviously broken because our our network's fine. And the AV folks have a tendency to say, no, the encoder's fine. It's your IT network. And so that's also where some of the rub comes in. So, yeah, we are not going to solve the problem here today. Let's just put it that way.
I thought we were going to have it resolved. I thought,
stop it.
2 more minutes and we would write a white paper and the industry would be thanking us.
Thank you all so much for joining us. Kelly Teal, kick-ass AV and IT consultant. How do people connect with you, ma'am?
I am only on LinkedIn. I think it's either under Kelly Teal or Kelly T. It changes because of privacy settings, so it's under one of those.
Very good. Mike Gleason, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you or Utelegy?
Also on LinkedIn, and if anybody's going to ISE, we will be at booth 2W150. Come see us. So thanks for having me on, Tim.
Absolutely. Mr. Callis, thank you, sir, as always. How do people connect with you or One Firefly?
Sure. They can find One Firefly at that URL and on all the socials. You can also find me on Twitter as well as LinkedIn. And One Firefly will next be at the Lightapalooza show in January in Dallas.
Very cool. Alrighty. Mike mentioned it. We are also going to ISE. But before you do that, go by the website, AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others, including not one, but 2 brand new podcasts this week. First, we've got a brand new AV Career Mastermind where Jen Weaver talks with Murphy Daly, and then a brand new Women in AV where Jen Weaver, as well as Aaron May Moran, talks with our buddy Erica Carroll. Also, if you are interested in ISE, you can go by the website, We already have a page up. I mentioned the fact that Mitchell is cranking out videos as fast as he can get them. But if you are watching this on YouTube and you want to hear what these fine folks are saying, and instead of just watching us, you can go subscribe to AVWeek wherever you get your podcast. And if you're listening to us and you want to see Ron Callis's hat, you can go watch us on YouTube. I'm just giving Ron a hard time. For Tim Albright, don't follow me anywhere. If you want to read something that I wrote that has nothing to do with technology, you can find me on LinkedIn under, I believe, Tim Albright. I don't think I put the Timothy down because that's just weird. But you can check that out. But all else, go by the website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.